What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another video. Hope everybody's doing well. And just a note, for this week I won't be posting until Thursday, so only today's video and Thursday's video will come out this week just because I'm out the city. But nonetheless, you can see I have the economic calendar on the right here, and we have most of our news on Thursday and Friday. And we have CPI as well, which tends to be very high impact. So I'm expecting Friday to cause us a lot of movement and, create significant shifts that we'd want to get involved in, so to speak. I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is going to be a little bit more manipulative, probably a bit more chill. But we are going to start on the weekly, and I am expecting an up close candle because, as far as I'm concerned, we are bullish. As soon as we took out this high, basically, from these down close candles, once we traded and closed above it here, I'm basically bullish on dollar, and I have been wanting to get bullish on dollar for a while. If you've been watching me this later this year, and then you can also see how we grab stops. So just looking at where we are, I'm expecting an up close candle. Even though last week we had a down close, I'd like to think that we can get some rallying in this week and start pushing up towards this high and this high. Now, I think it might be a little bit ambitious considering how much is left of the year, so I don't want to speak too much, but nonetheless, I'm expecting up close. And then the first thing that stands out to me is an implied fair value gap. Now, this is a bit of a advanced ICT concept. This is something he did mention. He hasn't taught it properly, but basically between this high and in this wick, the idea is that there's an order block here. There's a fair value gap here, a bullish fair value gap where price should be able to find support. And then, as I said, I'm expecting price to want to start drawing up into these highs. Now, price doesn't necessarily have to take out these highs. This is just my draw on liquidity. And the direction that I want to see price trade for most of the week. And then this inversion fair value gap, the 50% level, I'll be paying close attention to, as that's the lowest I'd want to see price trade this week. So let's just get that delineated. Let me get that middle line made a bit thicker, like so. And then as we drop down to the daily, we should be able to get a closer look at price, and you can see how prices came down. Again, this is these down close candles, 1, 2, 3, 4. Makes a bullish order block, and if we look at the actual range, and I'm just going to use the volume, you can see our price just traded nicely into that 50% level, which is what we call mean threshold. So with that, let me just get rid of this for us. So with that taken into account, I'd like to think it would use that as a springboard, basically, to send price higher. So it's almost acting like a propulsion block, this bullish order block at this stage in the journey as well, as in if we're still bullish and we are aiming to run up to these highs, etc., then that should act as a propulsion block. So I'm going to get a bit more into detail, just bear with me. So for another example of a propulsion block is here. So we have a bullish order block here, and you can see our price traded into it, and we had a large expansion. Now we've come back into another bullish order block, so we expect another expansion to start pushing us into the buy side. Again, this 50% level is what I'm expecting to hold price, and this daily level, actually no, never mind. I'm looking at this down close right now. What I'm going to be looking at is looking for this high to get ran. Obviously, there's a fair value gap here, but because we are bullish, we anticipate that price should be able to trade through it. So I will get the fair value gap marked out for us. We'll just make it this color. And I want to see price trade through it. I want to see price trade to the fair value gap and through it, and then use the high of it as support to then help keep pushing price higher. So again, this 50% level is where I'm expecting price to find support in the downside if we are going to create a low. So let's go to the 4 hour, take a closer look. And you can see very basic price action. One thing that's interesting to take note of as well is this low. So you can see we just about tapped it, and came away from it and had quite a large expansion on the back of it on Friday. So it's going to be interesting to see how price, ideally price shouldn't need to come back below here. There is a gap, a massive void down here, but because of how my expectation that price is going to want to continue to trade higher, I'd like to think that this gap can act as like a breakaway gap and be left open. So I'm not really, as much as this is a big deal, so to speak, in that we may anticipate that price may want to come down here, I want to see that get left open. Same with these lows, relatively equal lows, but again, if we're remaining bullish from the higher time frame, as in from the weekly, then I anticipate that these highs should be getting targeted, and that this fair value gap that I marked out from the higher time frame should be able to get traded through. So there's a few things, and then also there's another gap here. When you see gaps like this, guys, this is what we call volume imbalances. There's no volume in these ranges, and when I see that price is traded through it so aggressively too, and closed aggressively, and I'll show you what I mean now, you can see how we've created the gap, and then price is traded through it and then closed above it. So if price was ever to return back down here, I'd expect it to have to support. And because this is below the 50% level of the higher time frame PD array, which I drew out, I don't expect price to come down here in general anyway. So I'm pretty confident that price should be able to keep rallying and be able to get us into our buy side. That doesn't mean just go long. We should still, take our time, be careful. I don't know what's going on with this candle right now, as in whether it's down close or up close. Who knows? But my point is, I'd like to think that this volume imbalance, which is now an inversion fair value gap, should also provide support. So if we do find price dipping down below here, it should be able to keep us afloat. So that's going to be everything on dollar. I hope that all makes sense. We have our draw on liquidity. We have our bearish PD array that we expect to get respected, and we have the low time frame discount PD arrays that we also expect to be respected. And then we also have this fair value gap, which should help guide us throughout the week, that if we manage to trade through it, we know we can use the support to then set up for trades, etc. So with that taken all into account, we're now going to go on to GBP USD. And obviously, if we're expecting a up close candle on dollar, we want to see if we can get a down close candle on pound. Now, pound closed quite nicely in the upside in terms of that's quite a firm candle, as in being bullish, which isn't ideal with our bearish bias, but nonetheless, nothing changes. And then you can see these relative equal lows have definitely got my eyes. Again, whether we reach that this week or whether we even reach it, before the end of the year is another story. But this is, again, our draw on sell side liquidity. And then, again, we're in a bit of consolidation, so we do need to be patient with price here. It's not ideal conditions, guys. Like, I haven't enjoyed trading the past few weeks. And then you can see we're kind of just playing within this bearish order block. So these two up close candles, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw out the volume of them, is a bearish order block. Might as well mark out the 50% level just for reference sake. And you can see our price is tapped into that. And if it is a bearish order block, it should act as one, as in we should anticipate that we should be able to start getting some down close candles to start pushing us towards our discount PD array and drawing towards our sell side liquidity. We also have a fair value gap here as well. I'm going to mark it out with lines. So between this high and between this low. Again, this gives us a level that we expect price to trade to, and then we want to get through it as well. So once it reaches it, I want to see it use the range as like support. Like basically what I'll be doing is on the lower time frames, what I'll do is I'll come up to this time frame, I'll be splitting it into quarters, and then I'll be looking at how price treads its way through. And once it gets to that 50% level, we should be able to start thinking about it running for this rejection block level below here. But we can talk, well, then again, I won't be posting later on this week, but if you're in the Discord, we can look more into that. So let's just get that delineated just so that we know where the gap is and where we expect price to want to start drawing to and through. In terms of the buy side, we have this large wick. I like the way we took out this high. And what I'm looking at now is going to be splitting this into quarters as well. And you can see that the 50% level will be the very highest I want to see price trade, but I think 25% level is going to be quite an interesting level to play around with as well. If we do go into any kind of premium, I try not to talk too much about premium PD arrays. When we're bearish, I try to. It's important to acknowledge when we're bearish. It's important to acknowledge premium PD arrays because we need to know what price may be moving towards before it wants to turn around, and the same for the inverse as well. It's just that it can throw you off because as much as I want it to tap into there, it might not do it again. Price might just simply roll over and start running lower, which is fine, but that's what drives me insane, basically, is what I'm saying. But if we look at this time frame, we do have a breaker, we have a high, we have a low, we have a higher high, and we have a kind of displacement. Maybe the 1 hour will give us more for a displacement, as you can see. And I'm looking at the last down close candles, and I'm kind of playing around in that now anyway. So because of that, if we get some kind of rallying early on in Monday or something, that would be nice to think that we can reverse on the back of it, and then, like I said, start to push down towards our daily fair value gap, which I want to see get filled, and then remember trade it through if we still have some time left at the end of the week. So I hope this is all making sense, guys. There's a 15-minute again rallying. I'm happy for us to rally into this blue level. And when I say rally into it, I mean like it can wick above it, it can hang around a bit, but if it does do it, I want to see it turn around and roll straight down later into this fair value gap. However, if we don't even touch there, price will just run for the fair value gap, fill it, and then probably either continue downwards in line with dollar, and then we can start looking at these lows and these lows to start getting targeted. So that's going to be everything on pound. I hope that will make sense. We are going to finish up on Euro USD now. And we're going to go on the weekly and we're going to do the same thing. We're expecting a down close candle. Again, this up close candle, don't let it throw you off, guys. my buy still remains bearish, and that is a bearish order block right here, which we traded into last week, which means we should see a reaction off the back of it. And what I'm going to be looking at is going to be this inversion, implied fair value gap, similar to what we had on dollar in terms of this range. We should act as a inversion fair value gap for us to us to anticipate price being pushed away from it and into what our south side liquidity targets. So let's get that delineated as well, like so. And we are going to go down to the daily. And like I said, look at price. This is not the cleanest over the past few. Look at this. Absolutely insane, guys. It's not been the cleanest. But nonetheless, that doesn't stop us from trying. And we haven't yet taken out this low. So I'm looking for us to take out this low just so that then activates this as a bearish order block. We might mess about in here for a bit. There's a rejection block level. But generally speaking, I'm looking for price to draw into the sell side. A nice fair value gap here on the daily, similar to what I've been doing. I'm going to mark this out for us just for reference sake. And I'm looking for price to trade to it and through it. So once we get inside of it, I want to see it use the quarter levels as like measuring steps to make its way through, and trade to the other side, use it as resistance, and then push. And we've got some beautiful relative equal lows below here where there's going to be lots of buy side liquidity residing. So that would be ideal. And again, in terms of any rallying happening, I'm not expecting much, especially the way we've just tapped out that high. I'm looking at that now, which is quite interesting price action. As far as I'm concerned, price has done its job up there. So ideally, price doesn't need to go back up there again. It can rally a little bit, and inside this range which I've delineated, we have a fair value gap up here, another gap here. Like, there's clear displacement here. There's 4 candle pattern which ICT has spoken about. So there's space for there's room for error, so to speak. There's room for rallying, but I'd like to think that it won't spend much time up there if it does, and then we can start thinking about filling this daily fair value gap and getting down deep into this discount. So that's going to be my expectations for the week. I hope that will make sense. Don't forget to drop a like, drop a comment, smash subscribe, join the mailing list, join the Discord. All of the links are in the description, guys. And like I said, I won't be posting until Thursday this week. However, join the Discord and don't hesitate to drop any questions in there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys on Thursday. Peace.